frustrated at the fact that they are always in lack. Lacking a proper education, school-to-prison pipeline, lacking necessary resources, low funding for CPS schools, lacking the fundamentals to outsmart the ones who thought they were smart enough to create a society and still be able to oppress people of color without anyone realizing.
This is Theo. He is a 19-year-old who is a product of the school-to-prison pipeline. The school-to-prison pipeline refers to practices within our nation's schools that push at-risk children out of the classroom and into criminal justice systems through acts and policies that are zero tolerance towards in-school disobedience. After being ticketed within his school for a minor in possession of tobacco when Theo was 14, it led to him spending 3 years in a juvenile facility. Today, because of Theo's juvenile record, he cannot find a job.
Acting, you know?
Man, it's affected me in a whole bunch, because it's like I can't get no job, and I want to be in the international business. But at the same time, I can't get nobody to even hear me talk or hear my story. They don't want to hear me out.
He says that the discipline he faced in school didn't prepare him for the real world.
It started, in Texas. If you're a minority in the state of Texas, ain't nothing for you. Or you come from poverty, you don't got no money, ain't nothing for you. No matter you black, white, brown, pink, blue, ain't nothing for you. You know what I mean? It wasn't nothing to help us prepare for the real world. It helped us prepare for jail.
In schools across America, the administration is adapting new zero-tolerance policies which involve students being suspended, expelled, ticketed, or even detained. Theo has experienced these zero-tolerance policies which led him to being expelled from school and pausing his future of receiving an education. The school administrations that are taking these steps are violating 4 articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These articles include Article 2, which entitles people to freedom of discrimination, Article 5, which is freedom from torture or degrading treatment, Article 7, which is the right to equality before the law, and finally Article 9, which is freedom from arbitrary arrest or exile. Looking at the numbers, race continues to play a central role in discipline among schools. In the publication Race is Not Neutral, a survey was conducted among 400 elementary and middle school students. Research found that Black and Latino students faced a harsher punishment than their white counterparts did for the same misconduct. Each year, 40% of students who are expelled from U.S. schools are Black. Aside from expulsion, 70% of students who are arrested while school is in session are Black or Latino. Black students are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended than whites. Blacks and Latinos are twice as likely to not graduate from high school. In 2001, President Bush passed the No Child Left Behind Act in order to ensure an education for America's youth. The act had good intentions when it was proposed, but it created incentives for states to lower their standards in their schools. Instead, NCLB emphasized punishing failure over rewarding success. Schools prioritized more on absolute scores rather than their students' growth. In addition, schools were then restructured based on pass-fail, one-size-fits-all interventions. In 2011, however, President Obama called for a reform to the NCLB that would hold schools accountable for the improvements and rewards that would reflect the school's excellence. Due to a staggering 37% of schools not reaching the mandated annual targets, Obama's reform is providing empowerment for principals and teachers while simultaneously measuring individual student growth. Most importantly, the system will be focused on schools most at risk. It should give resources to consistently low-performing schools and ensure that the most effective teachers should work with the children most in need. In Texas, Theo is facing difficulties after his juvenile disciplinary actions. Areas that are considered at risk consist of minorities who are unable to dedicate their full attention to school due to externalities such as familial difficulties, financial struggles, and violence in the neighborhood. The environment that is crowding minorities' populations is leading for an increase of violence and disobedience. Currently, there is 26% of the juvenile justice system that is African American in comparison to the 14% of white male juveniles. In comparison to Texas, California has the lead in dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline. Los Angeles has been the leading city for finding solutions to this disciplinary epidemic. Parents and faculty have been unionizing in order to bond together to advocate for more effective disciplinary management with LA schools. One act that was passed through a parent-organized group was the Los Angeles Unified School District Discipline Foundation policy. Built on human rights principles, the policy calls for positive behavior supports, or PBS, to be implemented district-wide. PBS is an evidence-based approach to improving school discipline, which is proven to reduce disciplinary incidents, support gains in academic achievement, and improve staff morale and perceptions of school safety. There are other silver linings outside of just California. Organizations such as Advancement Project, Teaching Tolerance, and Rethinking Prisons and Alliance for Quality Education are organizations that are gathering people to fight for kids who are being entrapped by the criminal justice system in their schools. These organizations' goal is to help kids like Theo find their second chance. As of Thursday, December 9th, 2015, President Obama was successful in his reform in shifting the power of the No Child Left Behind Act put in place by Bush to local governments under a new law named the Every Student Succeeds Act. This will help underachieving schools dictate how they respond to their testings. The first steps towards dismantling the pipeline is to take a critical look at the existing school and discipline policies, the actual practices of schools and law enforcement, and the impact of those policies and practices. In the vast majority of cases, data demonstrates that the policies and practices seen in the school-to-prison pipeline have only been counterproductive.